Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about comic shop owners again. This time specifically the customers that comic shop owners hate. Are you one of them? Are you actually the problem? Or is it the smelly man behind the counter that just finished his second Arby's roast beef sandwich and can't be bothered to get up from the counter to help you? These and all other questions will be answered as we talk about potential problem customers, potential ways to improve the experience, what the future holds for the comic shop, and all other questions that you have. Being a comic book shop owner in 2025 has got to be a fairly frustrating experience. There's got to be a lot of joy and frustration in owning a comic book shop. As I've talked about before, many comic book shop owners either had passion at one time or they have passion now for the craft and for selling comic books and being a part of that space. But a lot of them have lost that, and the whole experience of running the shop has kind of lost that luster. The comic book shop, in its essence, is a community-focused thing. It's this key aspect that kind of fosters the connection among fans and what I think brings people to the shop, not just having the retail experience. The challenges of running a small business are numerous in this day and age. Comic book shop owners have to deal with let's just say problem customers on a daily basis. And one of these specifically is the know-it-all customer. This is the customer who thinks they know more about comics than the owner and anybody else. This is the customer who constantly questions prices and demands discounts and who tries to bargain for rare items. The know-it-all customer is like many comic book nerds who think that their knowledge is superior to others, and because they have that knowledge, that entitles them to certain discounts or special treatment, or they're special or different than others. I've encountered this many times in my comment section where one of the big questioning things for me is you lack comic knowledge. I can't think of anything more gatekeeping than that. And that's got to be super frustrating for somebody who's like a comic shop owner who has sat in there for 30 some years, and you've got some guy rolling in neckbeard saying that they know more than you. It's got to be frustrating, but at the same time, many of these comic book shops that I've gone to, I can guarantee you I know more than the person who's running it. They have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea about the prices, where we're at now in 2025, and just the kind of lackadaisical attitude of just running the shop, not keeping it clean, tidy, comics just strewn everywhere. You know, that idea, maybe he does know more than me from knowing about comic book heroes and villains, but he doesn't know a darn thing about the customer experience. So this is kind of like a tightrope, like a tug of war of just like, you know, who's in the right, who's in the wrong. Just everybody needs to kind of be good to each other in that, because it's kind of a delicate balance, and not try to play that gatekeeping role of being the know-it-all. The next type of customer that comic shop owners absolutely hate is the I'm just browsing guy. This is the guy who spends hours browsing without buying anything. This is the guy who asks countless questions about characters and storylines when that's never going to lead to any kind of sale for the owner. And this is the guy who touches and bends collectible items, rifling through everything. So this is the person that is just going in there to like waste time or kill time, or just like rifle through things without ever buying anything. Unfortunately, I feel like this might be what I'm becoming, because so many times when I'm going through there, I'm like, I'm not going to overpay for any of this. This kind of leads to a strained relationship with the comic book shop owner, rightfully so. But at the same time, how many times have I been asked, do you need anything, or is there anything of interest to you when I'm going in there? Most of the time when I'm in a comic book shop, the owner has completely given up and just doesn't even acknowledge your existence. So the I'm just browsing customer, I guess, comes from the idea of like trying to connect with your customer and then them feeling the pressure of I'm just looking around, because at the same time, don't you kind of hate it when you're just kind of looking and like somebody comes over and is trying to make a sale? It's kind of frustrating, especially when you're just looking. I love the guy who goes in there to comic book shops and is just like trying to flex some sort of knowledge about the characters and storylines and continues to ask questions. One of the things that I know I did when I first started going to comic shops was I would ask the owner, is this any good? Like, assuming that the comic shop owner has read like every single new comic that comes out. Many times that owner would just lie to me and be like, oh yeah, that's a good one. And he hadn't actually read it. It was just one of those things that was like, is any of it good? I mean, at that point, the comic book shop owner, he'd been there 20, 30 years. Some of the best stories have come and gone, and you got a young punk coming in there asking like, is this any good? At this point, you just start lying. And as far as like getting in there and mishandling the books, like at the same time, like everything should be in a bag and board. I know the new comic book day books are not. They're usually just up on the wall. But like, if you're going to let the customers handle them, I mean, you can expect that there's going to be some damage that happens. As far as dealing with difficult customers, I think comic book shop owners should do this. They need to emphasize the value of comics and the importance of supporting local businesses with problem customers, and set clear boundaries with customers who are disrespectful or disruptive, and offer alternative options for customers who are unable to afford certain items. So there's a few different ways of handling this, and a few of them can come off sounding like you're a jerk. One of my most memorable experiences is with the man bun situation. And he definitely drew lines as far as comic shop etiquette and establishing the value of certain collectibles, where he put key issue comics so high up in the rafters that no one could see them unless you had like Superman's X-ray vision. And as far as like walking that tightrope of somebody that can't like afford a certain item, and then giving an option for like a different type of item. That's one of those things you got to be careful about, because you can insult somebody who's actually rich going in there and you're thinking that they're broke because they look like a hobo. That's not necessarily the case. Usually the more wealthy people are the people that look homeless. And that's never been more than the truth here in West Virginia. I can tell you that. The future of comic book shops staying relevant in a changing landscape in 2025 is pretty daunting. The rise of online retailers and the challenges they pose to brick and mortar stores is significant. The importance of creating unique experiences for customers to draw them in is extremely difficult. And the potential for comic book shops to become more than just a place to buy comics is where it needs to go. This is kind of a topic that really needs its own video, and what the future comic book shop needs to look like. But they need to address the idea, just the plain fact that like you can get most things online cheaper. Digital comics are kind of what a lot of people are doing, especially for like new comics that are coming out. Like buying single issue floppy comics like the day they come out is just, I'm not sure who's doing that other than for the collectible aspect of it. But like to do that for reading is just completely cost prohibitive. And having the comic book shop be like a hub for like community, because I think that's what a lot of people are wanting. They don't want just the retail experience. They want to go and talk to other like-minded people, to have that experience, talk about the stories, talk about what's coming out, have that thing, because so many of us don't have any of that. We don't have that connection because we're in such a niche thing where, your coworkers are probably not into this stuff. Your friends may or may not be into this. And to have that kind of bond at the comic book shop is super important. The comic book shop owner needs to foster that. They need to support that type of community and not just like, hey, if you're not buying something, get out. The just browsing thing. Like, you need to let people browse. Guys, comic book shop owners hate these customers. Do they hate you? Are you part of the problem? If at any point in time you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Thank you guys for watching and take care.